Hi guys, it is time to talk the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is my part 2 on Kathy Hilton regarding Lisa Rinna's text messages saying they get it from their mama and it runs in the family. So I figured I would go over some information that I know about the Hiltons and Kathy, and I already did a part 1, but it didn't give you the history and the type of tea that I'm going to give you in this video. So before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on, because you never know when something exciting may be going on with the housewives. So if you want to stay up to speed, it's important to turn your notifications on. All right, let's get into this, guys. So the text messages, the messages that are allegedly from Lisa Rinna about Kathy Hilton, basically call Kathy narcissistic and racist and homophobic. And then she says, it runs in the family. They get it from their mama. So I thought it was like a perfect time to talk about Kathy Hilton and a little bit about their mother, who is sadly passed away. So of course we will try to be as sensitive as possible. And then, of course, everything in this video is alleged. Now, we have to kind of talk about the Hiltons as well. So we have Kathy, who we really don't know a lot about her dad. We know a little bit of what they've told us, but that he was like a fisherman or something. And of course, Kathy, Big Kathy, is the mother, and Kathy Hilton would be little Kathy. She had Kathy, and then she ended up meeting Kyle and Kim's father. He was very wealthy. They lived in Nebraska, and she convinced him to move to California because she said she could get the girls to be famous. That's what she wanted to do. So her whole goal, Big Kathy's whole goal, and after she had Kyle and Kim, was to move the 3 girls to Los Angeles and basically make them movie stars. Okay, so she has the 2 children and she's auditioning. Now, the book, The House of Hilton, this gentleman did a biography basically because Paris Hilton was really big at this time. And I mean, we can credit her and Nikki to, coming out with reality TV. We think about The Simple Life. That was one of the first reality TV shows that we saw. But people didn't know who Paris Hilton necessarily was because the internet really wasn't around. So paparazzi would actually sit down the road from Kathy Hilton's house to try to get photos of Paris Hilton. And people knew the Hiltons as like the Hilton Hotel, but they didn't really know a lot about Paris necessarily, who, the mother. And when all of this was happening, Paris, she was in jail for like a half a day. She was partying with Lindsay Lohan, Kim Kardashian. She was in the headlines a lot. So she was getting a lot of publicity. Now, people in Beverly Hills and LA definitely knew Kathy and Rick's status. But as for the rest of the country, it wasn't like how it is today. So, in the book, the gentleman that does the biography, he says that people basically describe Big Kathy as like a stage mom from hell. Kyle Richards mentions in one of the reunions from a couple of seasons ago that she used to drive when she was like 12 years old. And Andy was like astonished. She's like, "You used to drive when you were 12 years old?" And she was like, "Yeah, I used to drive myself to auditions." And she's like, "My mother just trusted me." And I thought that was like strange. Now I'm realizing it's because her mother was sadly drunk. She posted up at the Polo Lounge, which is inside the Beverly Hills Hotel, okay? From more than 1 or 2 or 3 people's accounts, allegedly she would drink there morning till night until time to go, and she would be looking for a rich man or just a man to take care of her tab. Now, this was in the book, okay? A couple of years go by. Kim does the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and then I think she went to rehab, came out, might have filmed, I'm not sure the timeline, but she got arrested at the Beverly Hills Hotel. She was in the bathroom stall crying, but the maitre d' had called the police because they had asked her to leave, and she didn't. And when she goes on Dr. Phil, she's talking about how she was triggered because she was at the Beverly Hills Hotel at the Polo Lounge. And she says that was my mother's booth because her mother was always in that booth drinking. That's where she hung out at. Kim had allegedly been sober. She had been dry for a while, and she had left her daughter Brooke's house and allegedly had a small glass to drink, and she felt tipsy, so she drove and pulled over at the Beverly Hills Hotel to go into the Polo Lounge because that was a safe place to her. And her ex-in-laws, the Davises, actually owned it. Well, when Kim Richards went in, she had been drinking. She started drinking. Something happened with some other customers. We don't really know, but the maitre d' essentially asked her to leave. She wouldn't leave. I think they called security. Kim ended up in the bathroom stall. She was crying and she was scared, but she was arrested. It's interesting because the book says the Hiltons are a long line. I mean, you can trace them back to like the early 1900s. They weren't supposed to have any special treatment at the hotels. None of them. There was like 5 children. None of them were to have special treatment at the hotels. But when Kathy came along, all of that changed, okay? All of these accounts, I mean, they're insane. They say that basically the Hiltons would show up on the busiest weekend and demand the finest room, the finest food, and also free babysitting services for little Paris. There's a story of a family friend who talks about meeting Paris when she's 9 months old and how Kathy came over with Paris. She thought to visit. Kathy said, I gotta run somewhere. I'll be back. And she left Paris all day until almost night with no instructions, no nothing. You know, she wouldn't have had a cell phone. Back then, when someone left, they left, and you just had to wait till they come back. There was no texting or calling. Plenty and plenty of accounts of the Hiltons going to a Hilton hotel. Like I said, finest food, finest wine, babysitting services for the entire weekend. Like they would leave on Friday and not even come back to the hotel till Sunday. At one point, they had to convince the hotel seamstress to babysit because Kathy and Rick expected it, and these employees were scared of them because Kathy always, threatened to basically get them in trouble or get them fired. There was a night, the housekeeper that watched Paris from a Friday to Sunday was in the New York Hilton. But also the Hilton in New Jersey, and I can't even say this city, it's Parsippanny. Busy Friday night. They show up. They have 2 little dogs with them. Dogs aren't welcome at the hotel unless if they are, dogs for someone who's blind or helping. They demand the nicest suite, of course. And so the manager, trying to accommodate them, he has a suite that belongs to a pharmaceutical company, but they don't use it on the weekends. So he says, perfect. I will give that suite to the Hiltons and they'll be out by Sunday and I can have it ready for the pharmaceutical company. Paris was there. They got her babysitter, and Rick and Kathy left that Friday and never came back till Sunday. Okay. And they had the 2 dogs, right? Apparently they were like separated, the rooms. However, the suite was, because it was a big suite. When they left on Sunday, the hotel staff were like gasping and dying when they went in that room because they said that Kathy and Rick had not taken out those dogs the entire weekend. So there was just feces and urine everywhere. That's what the book literally says. It gives a whole 2 pages on this scenario about them showing up with a baby, them having to get somebody to watch the baby, and then also them leaving the dogs in the hotel room for the entire weekend. It also alleges that Kathy was she was very loud. Some of the words that they were used weren't exactly nice, but she liked to let people know who the F her and Rick were. And there's a gentleman, I'm going to put his name in the description. He was straight out of a high-end high life column in Britain. And he described Kathy and Rick as the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. This is just crazy, guys. I mean, it really is just crazy. They said she was arrogant, she was condescending, she was pushy. If employees saw them in the hallway, they would just put their head down and keep their mouth shut and keep it moving. At one point, the girls get older, they go to a Hilton, there's a big convention, and they want to take their ferrets in, and the hotel staff's like, look, we can't, if these ferrets get loose, you know, we can't have this. And Kathy was like, no, my girls are bringing them in. And the hotel staff's like, no, you're not. And she, of course, told them their boss was going to hear about it. And then we also have a story about Rick Hilton being outside the Hilton in Las Vegas, and Kathy had just had either Paris or Nikki. And of course, people were like congratulating him and so on and so forth. And someone, I don't know if they asked it like seriousness, like, why should we congratulate? Like, what did you do? And they said he like aggressively and loudly yelled, I like to F-U-C. You know what I'm saying? That's what basically, like, I like to, like, loud as can be outside of the Hilton in Beverly Hills. He was like smoking cigars, and there was all these people around, and someone said, why are we thanking you? What did you do? Did you give childbirth? And he basically told him he likes to F. And did I tell you guys that she likes to go skiing? Like skiing, like I can't say it on here, but if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you know what I'm saying. I want to tell you guys why I think that's true, because more than just hearing it, I believe it. Only because of the company that she keeps. And I'm going to give that to you guys, and maybe I'll just drop a little part 3. It's just a short story, but it has to do with Dorit and the whole story about like, were people doing COC, you know, were they skiing in your bathroom, Dorit? That's what it has to do with. And I can affiliate it back to that whole situation with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and also with Kathy Hilton's reputation of liking to do the same thing. So, like I said, everything in this video, of course, is alleged, but go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, put those notifications on, and I will be dropping that little part 3, if you will, shortly.